The sound of the camera shutter echoed in Jamie's ears as he stood in the dimly lit room of the local photo lab. It was a sound he hadn't heard in years, a reminder of moments captured and then forgotten. But this time, it felt different. As he watched the developing images swirl in the chemical bath, his heart raced, a mix of excitement and dread coursing through him. The Pentax he had bought for a mere $5 at a yard sale near the old lighthouse had promised memories. But what would those memories reveal? The first image slid into view. A young boy stood by a dock, his face alight with joy, wearing a striped cap and a small cut on his left eyebrow. A familiar cut. Jamie's breath hitched in his throat. The boy's smile mirrored his own from childhood, a long-lost reflection captured in fading film. He felt a strange warmth spread through him, ignited by the recognition. Each frame was a window into a past he had never fully known, a glimpse of a life intertwined with his own. In the next frame, the boy held a bright blue kite, its tail dancing in the wind while a figure loomed in the background, a man whose posture was strikingly similar to that of Jamie as an adult. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. This wasn't just any boy. This was a part of him, a piece of a puzzle he had never thought to solve. The last snapshot bore a note tucked inside the envelope. For whoever finds this, reveal when you have time. Jamie's mind raced as he processed the implications. Adopted at a young age, he seldom spoke of the past, shielding it like a long-forgotten story waiting to be told. The images stirred something deep within, an ache of unresolved questions clawing at his insides. The kite, the boy, the man. They were all fragmented links to a history he had yet to confront. Yet as curiosity began to gnaw at him, Jamie found himself standing at a crossroads. Should he keep these photographs hidden away, relegated to the drawer of maybe, or should he seek out the truth behind the camera that had once belonged to someone else? In the silence of his small apartment, he felt the weight of his decision pressing down. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for him to make a choice. With the photographs resting heavily in his hands, he contemplated the journey ahead. Would he find answers that could mend the gaps in his life or uncover truths that were best left buried? As he stood there, the world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the echo of the shutter and the flicker of memories waiting to be unveiled. In that moment, Jamie knew he was ready to dive into the mystery, to embrace whatever revelations awaited him on the other side. The summer air was thick and warm as Jamie drove towards the house where he had purchased the camera. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Memories flitted in and out of his mind, mingling with the scent of salt water that hung in the air. He navigated the winding roads, each twist and turn, leading him deeper into the unknown. The old lighthouse, a familiar landmark, stood tall against the horizon, a sentinel of secrets long buried. As he approached the small, weathered home, a knot of anticipation tightened in his stomach. The house was unassuming, its paint peeling and the yard overgrown. Yet it held a history that felt alive, stories tucked away in every corner. Jamie parked outside, hesitating for a moment. He could feel his heart pounding like a drum, a rhythmic reminder of the leap he was about to take into the unknown. The porch creaked underfoot as he stepped closer to the door, the sound echoing in the stillness. He could turn back, retreat into the safety of anonymity, but the pull of the photographs urged him forward. The part of him that had always ached for understanding pushed him onward, driving out the fear that threatened to consume him. He knocked, and the sound reverberated through the air like a heartbeat. Moments stretched into eternity, each tick of the clock amplifying his anxiety. Finally, the door opened, revealing an older woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, but there was something in her gaze, a glimmer of recognition that startled him. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone cautious yet warm. I bought a camera at your yard sale," Jamie stammered, his words tumbling out in a rush. "I found some pictures inside. I think they might be important." The woman's expression shifted as a shadow passed over her features. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. As Jamie crossed the threshold, he felt a mix of trepidation and hope. The walls of the house seemed to breathe history, adorned with photographs and mementos, each one telling a story. He was struck by the intimacy of the space, their remnants of lives lived, moments cherished, and memories preserved. The woman motioned for him to sit, her gaze piercing through him as if she could see the questions swirling in his mind. "What did the pictures show?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. As he described the boy, the kite, and the man in the background, he watched her expression closely. A flicker of recognition passed through her eyes, and she reached for a dusty album on the shelf, its spine cracked from years of use. "I think I might know who that boy is," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Jamie felt a surge of hope mixed with trepidation. "Who is he?" he asked, leaning forward, his heart racing. The woman opened the album, revealing a collection of faded photographs. She turned the pages carefully, her fingers brushing over the images as she searched for something specific. "His name was Tommy," she said, finally stopping on a page. "Tommy Peterson. He lived in this town many years ago." The photograph before Jamie was of the same boy, the same joyful smile, but this time he was standing beside a man who bore a striking resemblance to Jamie himself. It was uncanny, a mirror of his own features, yet softened by the innocence of youth. "That's him," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "He loved that kite. Used to fly it every chance he got." "Where is he now?" Jamie asked, his voice barely a whisper. The answer felt monumental, like a key to a door he had never known existed. The woman's gaze darkened and she closed the album gently. "He moved away when he was a teenager. Life took him in a different direction. I lost touch with his family after that." She looked at Jamie, her eyes searching his face. "But I always wondered what happened to him. He was such a bright light." Jamie's mind whirled. The connection felt deeper than mere coincidence. "Did he have a father?" he asked, urgency creeping into his voice. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, his father was a quiet man, but there was something about him, a heaviness. I think he struggled with his past." A chill ran down Jamie's spine. The photographs weren't just images, they were pieces of a larger narrative. A narrative that tied him to Tommy and perhaps to the man in the background, his own father. He felt the weight of this revelation settle on him, a mix of fear and longing. "Is there any way to find out more? Any family left?" The woman hesitated, her brow furrowing. "I'm afraid not. It's been years and the town has changed, but there is an old friend of his you might want to speak with." She reached for a notepad on the table and scribbled down a name and an address. "This is Alice. She used to play with Tommy. Maybe she can help you." As Jamie took the slip of paper, his hands trembled slightly. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with gratitude. "Just be gentle with whatever you uncover," she cautioned, her eyes softening. The past can be a heavy burden. He left the woman's home with a sense of purpose. The sun was beginning to dip low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the landscape as he drove away. The photographs had awakened something inside him, a longing for connection, for understanding. The scent of salt water lingered in the air, now mixed with the promise of a journey that lay ahead. The drive to Alice's house felt surreal. The familiar roads now seemed foreign, each turn echoing with the weight of his discoveries. He clutched the wheel tightly, his mind racing with questions. What would he find? Would he piece together the fragmented history of his own existence? As he arrived at Alice's address, he noticed the house was modest with a well-tended garden that was bursting with color. It felt welcoming, like a portal to a past he was desperate to understand. He hesitated at the door, the knot in his stomach tightening once more. With a steadying breath, he knocked. The door opened to reveal an older woman, her hair a cascade of silver. Her eyes were sharp, yet there was warmth in them that felt familiar. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice a blend of curiosity and caution. "Hi, I'm Jamie. He introduced himself, feeling vulnerable under her scrutiny. "I'm looking for information about Tommy Peterson. I was told you might know him." Alice's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. "Tommy? It's been a long time since I heard that name," she said softly. "Come in." As he stepped inside, he felt the air shift. A thick layer of memories hung in the space, tangible as the furniture and decor. Family photos lined the walls, stories of laughter and joy captured within frames. Alice gestured for him to sit at the small dining table, where the scent of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air. "What do you want to know about Tommy?" she asked, her eyes searching his face. "I found some photographs that belonged to his family," Jamie replied, pulling the images from his bag. "I think they might be connected to me." Alice took the photos and examined them closely, her brow furrowing. "This boy, he looks so happy. That's Tommy, all right." She paused, her gaze drifting to the window. "We were inseparable back in the day. Do you know what happened to him?" Jamie's voice trembled with anticipation. "Did he ever mention his father?" Alice hesitated, her expression darkening. "Tommy's father. He was a complicated man. He loved Tommy, but there were shadows in his life that he couldn't escape. I heard they moved away after some troubles." "Troubles?" Jamie leaned in, desperate for clarity. "Just things that happen in life, you know," Alice said, her voice growing softer. "Sometimes people carry burdens that weigh them down." Jamie felt a pang of empathy, understanding all too well the weight of unspoken pasts. "Do you remember anything specific?" Alice took a breath, her eyes glistening with memories. "There was a day at the beach. Tommy flew that blue kite just like in the picture. His father was there but seemed distant, lost in his thoughts. We all tried to have fun, but you could feel the tension." The connection felt palpable as Jamie listened. The image of Tommy running with that kite, laughter ringing in the air, contrasted sharply with the image of a distant father. "Is there anyone I can talk to about his father? Someone who knew him?" Alice nodded slowly. "You might try the old general store. They still keep track of the families around here. People talk, you know. You might find someone who remembers more." As Jamie absorbed Alice's words, he felt a flicker of hope. He was unraveling a thread that could lead him back to the answers he sought. The sun was setting now, casting a warm, golden hue across the room. In that fading light, he knew he had embarked on a journey that was more than just about uncovering the past. It was about finding himself. With renewed determination, Jamie thanked Alice and left her home. The cool evening air wrapped around him as he stepped outside, the world feeling different, alive with possibilities. He made his way to the general store, anticipation bubbling within him. The door creaked open and the familiar scent of aged wood and spices greeted him. The store was small, filled with the sounds of soft chatter and the rustle of bags. An elderly man stood behind the counter, his face lined with years of experience and wisdom. "Can I help you?" the man asked, looking up from the ledger. "I'm looking for information about Tommy Peterson and his family," Jamie said, feeling a sense of urgency. "I was told you might know something." The man's eyes narrowed, deep in thought. "Tommy? Yes, I remember. His father was a good man, though things got complicated towards the end." "What do you mean?" Jamie pressed, leaning closer. "Just life," the man replied, his tone cautious. "Sometimes families fall apart. Tommy's father was struggling with his demons. After Tommy left, we didn't see them much anymore." Jamie felt a chill run down his spine. "Did you know where they went?" The man shook his head, a shadow crossing his face. "No one really knew. They just vanished one day." A sense of loss washed over Jamie. The more he learned, the more questions arose. Was there anything left behind? Anything that might help me understand? The man paused, then turned to a shelf behind him filled with dusty boxes. "There might be some old records in the back. Let me see what I can find." As the man rummaged through the boxes, Jamie's heart raced. Every moment felt like a step closer to uncovering the truth. The past was slowly unfurling before him, revealing hidden connections that could change everything. Finally, the man returned with a weathered folder. "Here's what I found. It's not much, but it might help." Jamie opened the folder, his hands trembling slightly. Inside were faded newspaper clippings and handwritten notes, remnants of a life once lived. As he read, a story began to take shape, a narrative filled with love, loss, and longing. He felt a surge of emotions as he pieced together the fragments, the photographs, the stories, and the memories. Each detail illuminated the shadows of his own life, shedding light on the path forward. He felt a flicker of hope ignite within him, a belief that understanding the past could lead to healing. As he left the store, the moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the world. A sense of calm washed over him. He was no longer just a boy lost in his own story. He was a seeker, ready to uncover the mysteries that lay ahead. The photographs, the connections, the voices, all came together in a symphony of discovery. Driving back to his apartment, he felt different, transformed. The weight of his past still lingered, but it was no longer a burden. It was a canvas, blank, waiting for him to paint it with understanding. He thought of Tommy, of the kite, and of the shadows that loomed over their lives. That night, he sat at his kitchen table, the photographs spread out before him. Each image told a story, a piece of a puzzle that needed to be assembled. He felt a sense of urgency, a desire to know more, not just for himself, but for Tommy too. As he traced his fingers over the images, he began to envision a narrative, a story that could connect them, bridging the gap between their lives. He remembered the woman from the photo lab's words, "Reveal when you have time." Perhaps this was the time. Perhaps this was the moment to confront the shadows that had haunted him for so long. With renewed determination, Jamie began to write down everything he had learned that day, connecting the dots between the photographs and the people they represented. As he wrote, the memories of his own childhood flickered to life. Summers spent in the park, the sounds of laughter, the taste of ice cream melting in the sun. He thought about the family he had never known, the questions that had lingered in the back of his mind for years. Who were they? What stories did they hold? The world outside his window grew darker, the streetlights flickering to life as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky. Jamie stood and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. The night felt alive, filled with possibilities. He could feel the energy of the universe shifting, as if it were encouraging him to take the next step. With a deep breath, he turned back to the table, determined to continue his quest for understanding. He would uncover the truth about Tommy and his family. He owed it to himself and to the boy in the photographs. As he set to work, he could feel a warmth spreading through his chest, a sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. In that moment, Jamie understood. Sometimes the most important discoveries are those that lead us back to ourselves. Jamie awoke the next morning with a renewed sense of purpose. The sun streamed through his window, casting a warm glow over the clutter of his small apartment. An eagerness surged within him, blending with the remnants of yesterday's discoveries. His thoughts drifted to the photographs sprawled across the kitchen table. The boy with the kite, the man who resembled him, the woman who had once cared for Tommy. Each image was a stepping stone, and it was time to see where they would lead him. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed his notebook, filled with the notes he'd taken during his meetings with Alice and the store owner. He made a plan to visit the locations mentioned in his notes: the general store, the beach where Tommy had flown his kite, and finally, the place where Tommy may have lived before everything changed. The drive to the beach was filled with a mix of nostalgia and curiosity. As he pulled into the parking lot, he noticed that the scene was a blend of familiarity and change. Families dotted the shoreline, children squealing with delight as they chased waves. A few kites danced in the breeze, their colors vibrant against the blue sky. and Jamie felt a pang of longing as he remembered his own childhood days spent in similar pursuits. He stepped out of the truck, the sand warm beneath his feet, and walked along the shore, the sound of the waves crashing providing a calming backdrop to his thoughts. He was searching for answers, pieces of a puzzle that could illuminate the mysteries of his own life. The air was thick with salt and seaweed, but it tasted sweet, invigorating him as he moved closer to the water. As he strolled, Jamie's mind wandered back to Tommy. The joy captured in those photographs seemed to echo around him, a reminder that happiness was all too fleeting. But it also felt like a promise. He needed to know more about the boy, to understand his story. The weight of unanswered questions pressed down on him as he scanned the beach for any familiar faces. Jamie decided to approach a group of older fishermen who were knotted in conversation near their boats. He cleared his throat and approached them, his heart racing. "Excuse me," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm looking for information about Tommy Peterson. I was told he used to come here a lot." The men exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from curiosity to recognition. One of them, a weathered man with a thick beard, stepped forward. "Tommy? Yeah, I remember him. Good kid. Always had that blue kite with him. What do you want to know?" Jamie felt a swell of hope. "Anything you can tell me about him, his family, where he went. It's important to me." The fisherman scratched his chin, contemplating. "His family left town a long time ago. I remember his father, quiet man, but you could see the love he had for Tommy. They seemed to be close. But something changed. I heard they moved away after a hard time. Never knew where they went." "Did Tommy ever talk about his father?" Jamie pressed, eager to glean more from this source. The man paused, his brow furrowing. "Not much. Kids don't usually delve into family matters. But I remember one day Tommy told me his dad was going through some tough times. It seemed to weigh on him." Jamie felt a knot tighten in his chest. "Do you remember any specific incidents? Anything that might help?" The fisherman mused for a moment. "There was a fire one summer, not in our town but nearby. I think it affected a lot of families, including Tommy's. After that, they just disappeared." "A fire?" Jamie echoed, intrigued. "Was anyone hurt?" The man shrugged. "Not that I know of. Just a lot of damage, though. It changed things for people." "Thank you," Jamie said, noting the information. He turned to walk away but felt the fisherman's eyes on him. "You look a bit like Tommy," the man called out. "You sure you're not kin?" Jamie paused, the question echoing in his mind. He shook his head, a mix of confusion and curiosity swirling within him. "I'm not sure, honestly. I just want to know." With that, he left the beach, the sound of the waves fading behind him. The mention of a fire struck a chord deep within, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a coincidence. He wanted to follow the trail, see where it would lead him next. Back in his truck, he opened his notebook, jotting down everything he had learned. The details of the fire and its impact felt like pieces of a larger puzzle, one that was beginning to take shape. He felt compelled to find more, to uncover the truth that lay hidden beneath layers of time. Next, he decided to visit the local library. The town's history was likely archived there, and he hoped to find records or articles about the fire mentioned by the fisherman. As he navigated the town's winding streets, he felt a growing sense of connection to the place he had only seen in snippets through his childhood. It was a world not so far removed from his own experiences, a tapestry of life woven together by shared struggles. The library was quaint, its exterior quaintly adorned with climbing vines and flower boxes. Inside, the scent of old books mingled with the faint smell of polished wood, creating an inviting atmosphere. The librarian, a kind woman with silver hair tied back in a bun, greeted him with a smile. "Can I help you find anything specific?" she asked. "I'm looking for information on Tommy Peterson and an old fire that occurred a few years back," Jamie explained, feeling a sense of urgency in his voice. "Tommy Peterson? Yes, I remember that name. Tragic what happened to his family. They were good people. She gestured toward a row of computers. You can start searching for old articles there. After a quick search, Jamie found what he was looking for. An article dated several years ago detailing the fire that had swept through a nearby community. As he read, his heart sank. The article spoke of the devastation, of families displaced, and of the community's efforts to rebuild. It mentioned Tommy's family briefly, noting how they had been among those affected. He felt a lump in his throat as the reality of their situation dawned on him. They had been through something traumatic, something that had driven them away from the only home they had known. The weight of loss lingered, palpable in the air around him. As he continued to read, something caught his eye. A mention of a charity run organized by the community to assist the families affected by the fire. It seemed that there had been an outpouring of support, but the article hinted at deeper struggles, of families fractured and relationships tested. "What are you working on, dear?" the librarian asked, her voice soft. "I'm piecing together Tommy's story," Jamie replied, looking up. "I think I might be connected to him." Her eyes widened. "Really? That's remarkable. It's so important to remember these stories." "Do you think there are any records of that charity run?" Jamie asked, suddenly hopeful. "Certainly," she said, her fingers already tapping on the computer keyboard. "Let me find out for you." As she searched, Jamie felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. The more he uncovered, the more he realized how intertwined their stories were. Would he find answers that could bridge the gap between his past and the life Tommy had led? After a few moments, the librarian found a file and printed out several pages. She handed them to him with a warm smile. "Here you go. This should give you some insight into the community's efforts back then." Jamie scanned the pages, his heart racing. There were names listed of local businesses that contributed, along with stories from families who had been helped. One of the names leaped out at him, a Mrs. Collins, who had organized many of the events. This could be an avenue to explore further. "Thank you so much," Jamie said, filled with gratitude. "This means a lot to me." As he left the library, clutching the papers tightly, he felt as if he were walking on air. Each discovery, each connection was a step closer to piecing together not just Tommy's story, but his own. The drive back to his apartment felt shorter, the road ahead clearer. He had a new name to follow up on and perhaps more threads to pull. That evening, he sat at his kitchen table once more, the papers spread out before him. He felt a sense of urgency as he mapped out his next steps, circling the name Mrs. Collins and jotting down ideas for how he might reach out. He would try to find her, to learn more about Tommy, to understand what had happened after the fire. As he worked, a thought began to take shape in his mind. This journey was not just about uncovering the past, but also about confronting his own life's narrative. He had been living in the shadows of uncertainty for too long, and now, with each piece of information he gathered, he felt the weight lifting. He was not just a bystander in his own life. He was the one steering the ship toward understanding, toward closure. With determination coursing through him, Jamie went to bed that night with a plan. He would seek out Mrs. Collins first thing in the morning, ready to unearth more of Tommy's story and in turn perhaps discover more about himself. As he drifted into sleep, he dreamt of kites dancing in the sky, of laughter and joy, and of a boy named Tommy who had touched his life in ways he was just beginning to understand. The next day, Jamie wasted no time. He rose early, fueled by coffee and a sense of purpose. After a quick breakfast, he dressed and prepared to search for Mrs. Collins. He didn't have an address, but he recalled that the charity events had taken place at the community center and decided to start there. The community center was bustling when he arrived. Children played on the playground outside while adults gathered for various activities inside. Jamie navigated through the chatter and laughter, his heart racing as he approached the front desk. "Excuse me," he said to the receptionist, a middle-aged woman with a bright smile. "I'm looking for Mrs. Collins. I have some questions about Tommy Peterson." The receptionist's face lit up with recognition. "Oh, Mrs. Collins is one of our volunteers. Let me see if she's available." She picked up the phone and made a quick call. After a few moments, she nodded. "She'll be here shortly. Please feel free to take a seat." Jamie settled into a chair, his mind racing. He thought of everything he had learned so far and how each revelation had led him closer to understanding Tommy's life. The anticipation was palpable, almost electric. When Mrs. Collins arrived, she walked in with purpose, her demeanor warm and inviting. "You must be Jamie," she said, extending her hand. "I've heard about you from the receptionist. What can I do for you?" "Thank you for meeting with me," he said, shaking her hand. "I've been piecing together Tommy's story. I found some photographs that belong to his family, and I'd really like to learn more about him and what happened after the fire." Her expression shifted, a mix of concern and understanding. Tommy was a special boy. We all loved him. It breaks my heart to think of what he and his family went through. Jamie felt a swell of emotion at her words. "Can you tell me more about that? What do you remember?" Mrs. Collins took a seat beside him. "After the fire, we organized fundraising events to help the families affected. Tommy's family was one of those we tried to support. They were so brave, but you could see the weight on them." "What kind of support did you provide?" Jamie asked, eager to learn. "Food, clothing, temporary housing, anything we could spare." Tommy's father was struggling to keep things together. He loved his son fiercely, but it was hard for him. "I remember one day I found Tommy sitting alone looking at the sky." "What happened to them?" Jamie pressed gently, hoping for more insights. "They moved away after a few months," Mrs. Collins responded, her voice tinged with sadness. "I think they needed a fresh start, a new place where they could heal. But I never learned where they ended up. It was a heartbreaking decision, but sometimes it's what you have to do." Jamie felt a tear prick at his eyes, the weight of her words settling on his heart. Did Tommy ever talk about his future? What he wanted? She smiled gently, her eyes glistening with the memories. He had dreams of being an artist. He loved to draw and paint. He always had this spark in his eyes when he talked about it. The connection felt profound, as if he were beginning to see a reflection of himself in Tommy's dreams. Jamie felt a desire to honor that spirit. "Do you have any idea how I could find them? I want to know if they're all right." Mrs. Collins sighed, her brow furrowing in thought. "I wish I could help more. We tried to keep track of families, but after they left, it was like a door closed. I only hope they found peace." "Thank you for sharing this with me," Jamie said earnestly. "It's helping me understand a lot about my own story." As they continued to talk, Jamie felt a sense of camaraderie with Mrs. Collins. They exchanged stories about their lives, and she shared her experiences from the charity events. The room felt alive with the warmth of shared memories, and Jamie found himself feeling more connected than ever before. After an hour, they concluded their conversation, both feeling the weight of their shared journey. "I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me," Jamie said, standing up. "If you think of anything else, please let me know." "I will, Jamie," she replied, her voice sincere. "And remember, sometimes our paths cross for a reason." As he left the community center, Jamie felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had gathered fragments of Tommy's life, but there was still more to discover. He wanted to keep digging, to keep learning. He now had a clearer picture of Tommy's struggles, but he also felt a burning need to honor him and his dreams. Driving back to his apartment, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the landscape. He felt a surge of determination wash over him. He would not let Tommy's story fade into obscurity. He would keep it alive. Over the next few days, Jamie threw himself into the search. He reached out to local archives, scoured online databases, and even contacted other residents of the town who might have known the Peterson family. Each day brought new discoveries, and every conversation drew him closer to understanding not just Tommy's life, but the essence of his own. One afternoon, he received an email response from a woman named Clara, who had lived in the same neighborhood as the Petersons before they moved away. "I remember them well," she wrote. "Tommy was a bright kid, always drawing. I'd love to share what I know. His heart raced as he read her words. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop the next day, and Jamie felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. Each encounter was a step further into the past, and he was determined to gather as many pieces of the puzzle as he could. The following day, as he sat across from Clara, he felt a sense of anticipation. She was an older woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, her warmth radiating as she settled into her chair. "Thank you for meeting with me," Jamie said, eager to dive into the conversation. "I'm trying to learn more about Tommy Peterson and his family." Clara nodded, her expression softening. "Tommy was such a sweet boy. I remember him drawing on the sidewalk with chalk, his imagination running wild. His father, though, he had a tough exterior but cared deeply." "What do you mean?" Jamie asked. "After the fire, things changed for them," Clara said, her voice becoming somber. "It was as though they were lost. I often saw Tommy trying to lighten the mood, but his father seemed burdened. I think he felt like he had failed." Jamie felt the weight of her words sink in. "Did they talk about moving? Did you know why they left?" "Only whispers among the neighbors," Clara replied. "Some said they needed to escape the memories, while others thought it was the father's struggles, but I never truly knew. I just remember the day they left." The sadness in the air was palpable. As she spoke, Jamie felt a connection growing, as if he were unlocking a door into the past. "Did Tommy ever mention what he wanted to do with his life?" "Oh yes. He dreamed of painting and traveling the world," Clara said, her eyes lighting up with the memory. "He had this fierce passion, a spark that was infectious. I often wonder what happened to that dream." A lump formed in Jamie's throat. He felt Tommy's aspirations intertwining with his own. "I want to honor that dream," he said, feeling the weight of his purpose. "I want to understand who he was and what his family went through." Clara smiled softly, her eyes glistening with warmth. "Then you're doing exactly what he would have wanted. Keep that spark alive, Jamie." As they wrapped up their conversation, Jamie thanked Clara for sharing her memories. Each encounter added layers to Tommy's story, each voice bringing him closer to understanding the boy he never knew. The feeling of connection grew stronger, and Jamie found himself reflecting on the meaning of family, dreams, and the legacy we leave behind. Afterward, he returned home, filled with inspiration. He felt compelled to create something in honor of Tommy, a tribute to his life, a testament to the struggles they both faced. It could be a painting or a written piece. He wanted to reflect the essence of the boy who had touched his life so unexpectedly. That night, Jamie sat at his kitchen table, supplies spread out before him. He felt an urgency to capture the emotions swirling within him. With each brushstroke, he poured his heart into the canvas, evoking the colors and feelings that Tommy's story had awakened in him. He painted a scene of a boy flying a blue kite against a brilliant sunset, a symbol of hope, dreams, and the enduring spirit of childhood. As he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was channeling Tommy's energy, honoring the legacy of a boy who had inspired him to confront his own history. In that moment, he understood that art had the power to transcend time and space, to connect lives, and to breathe life into stories that might otherwise fade away. The next morning, Jamie felt a sense of relief. He had created something beautiful, a reflection of dreams and resilience. Jamie left the Peterson home feeling lighter, as if a heavy burden had lifted off his shoulders. The warmth of Mary's kindness and the connection they had forged filled him with a sense of purpose that he hadn't felt in a long time. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape as he drove back to his apartment, each mile bringing him closer to the realization that he was no longer searching in the dark. He was now walking in the light of understanding. Once home, he set the photographs he had found on the table beside Tommy's painting. Each image resonated with memories, the boy with the kite, the moments captured in time, and the stories that had led him to this point. Jamie felt a profound need to honor Tommy's legacy, not only by keeping his memory alive, but also by sharing the boy's dreams and struggles with others. Over the next few days, Jamie dedicated himself to creating a tribute to Tommy. He wanted to encapsulate everything he had learned about the boy, the laughter, the dreams, the challenges. With a renewed sense of purpose, he gathered his art supplies and began to sketch scenes inspired by Tommy's life. At first, he painted the kite, vibrant and full of life, soaring high against the backdrop of a brilliant blue sky. He imagined Tommy holding it, his face lit with joy. Each brushstroke felt like a step toward healing, a way to bridge the gap between their lives. He poured his heart into each piece, creating not only a visual representation of Tommy's spirit, but also a narrative of resilience and hope. As the days turned into weeks, Jamie's artwork began to take shape, each piece telling a part of Tommy's story. He painted scenes of the beach where Tommy had flown his kite, capturing the laughter of children and the warmth of the sun. He depicted the community events organized after the fire, showcasing the support and love shared among neighbors. His heart swelled with the realization that although Tommy's life had been marked by tragedy, it was also filled with moments of joy and connection. One evening, as Jamie sat in his studio, surrounded by his creations, he received a message from Clara, the woman who had lived in the same neighborhood as the Petersons. She had heard about his tribute and wanted to see what he had created. Feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness, he invited her over to share his work. When Clara arrived, her face lit up with enthusiasm as she stepped into the studio. "This is incredible, Jamie," she exclaimed, taking in the array of paintings. "You've really captured the essence of Tommy. His spirit shines through these." "Thank you," Jamie replied, feeling his heart swell with pride. "I wanted to honor him, to show that even though he faced challenges, he had dreams and a light that was undeniable." As Clara moved from painting to painting, she stopped in front of the piece depicting Tommy with the kite. "This one, it takes me back. I can almost hear him laughing," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "His laughter was infectious," Jamie agreed. "I've come to realize how important it is to keep those memories alive. Tommy's spirit deserves to be remembered." Clara nodded in agreement. "You know, I think the community would love to see this. You should consider displaying your work at the community center. It would be a wonderful way to honor him and share his story with others." The idea struck Jamie like a bolt of lightning. "That's a great idea," he said, feeling a rush of inspiration. "It would be a way to not only celebrate Tommy's life, but also bring the community together to remember everyone who was affected by the fire." With Clara's encouragement, Jamie began to plan the exhibition. He contacted the community center, sharing his vision with the director, who was immediately supportive. They decided on a date, and Jamie set to work preparing for the event. He wanted it to be a celebration filled with stories, laughter, and love, a tribute to the strength of the community that had come together in the face of adversity. As the weeks flew by, Jamie continued to refine his artwork, pouring every ounce of emotion and care into each piece. He included stories of Tommy shared by family and friends, creating a narrative that would accompany each painting. The exhibition began to take shape, and with each passing day, Jamie felt a growing sense of anticipation. On the day of the exhibition, the community center buzzed with energy. Banners adorned the walls, and Jamie's artwork was prominently displayed, each piece framed and ready to tell its story. He felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as he prepared for the opening. Would the community resonate with Tommy's story? Would they feel the connection he had discovered? As the doors opened, people began to filter in, greeting Jamie with smiles and hugs. Familiar faces mingled with newcomers, and the atmosphere filled with laughter and shared stories. As he walked around the room, he saw people gather in front of his paintings, pointing and reminiscing about the past. Clara moved through the crowd, encouraging others to take a closer look. "You have to see this one," she said, leading a group to the painting of Tommy with the kite. Jamie watched as the community engaged with his work, sharing their memories and connecting with Tommy's spirit. As the evening progressed, Jamie stood by the painting watching people react. He felt a sense of warmth spreading through him as they shared stories of Tommy and how he had touched their lives. The connection was palpable, a reminder of the power of community and the importance of remembering those we've lost. At one point, a young girl approached him, eyes wide with admiration. "Did you really know Tommy?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "I didn't know him personally," Jamie replied gently, kneeling to her level. "But I learned about him through his family and friends. He was a wonderful boy who loved to draw and fly kites. I wanted to honor him by sharing his story." The girl smiled brightly. "I love kites. I want to be an artist like him someday." Jamie felt a swell of pride as he saw the spark in her eyes. "You can definitely be an artist. Just follow your dreams and keep creating." As the night wore on, Jamie stood at the center of the room, surrounded by laughter and stories. He couldn't help but feel that Tommy's spirit was present, woven into the fabric of the evening. The exhibition was a celebration, a reminder that even in the face of tragedy there was beauty to be found in the connections we share. As the event began to wind down, Jamie took a moment to step outside for some fresh air. The stars twinkled overhead, the night calm and serene. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey he had taken, from uncertainty and longing to understanding and connection. In that quiet moment, Jamie reflected on how Tommy's story had not only touched his life but had also brought a community together. He had transformed his grief into art, his search for identity into a celebration of life. He realized that Tommy's dreams were alive in the hearts of those who remembered him, and he felt a renewed commitment to honor those dreams. Returning to the community center, Jamie moved through the crowd, thanking everyone for coming. Each conversation reinforced the importance of sharing stories and preserving memories. He felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing he had done justice to Tommy's legacy. As the night came to a close, Jamie looked at the faces around him, families laughing, sharing stories, and connecting over a shared love for a boy who had touched their lives. In those moments, he understood that his journey was not just about uncovering the past, it was about forging connections that would last a lifetime. As he packed up his artwork, he felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had come full circle, transforming his longing for understanding into a celebration of life and love. The exhibition had become a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, hope and connection could flourish. Jamie left the community center that night with a heart full of gratitude. He knew that Tommy's spirit would continue to inspire him, guiding him as he navigated his own journey. And with that knowledge, he embraced the future, ready to create and share stories that would honor both Tommy and the connections that had shaped his life. The days following the exhibition were transformative for Jamie. The community's response had been overwhelmingly positive, and the conversations sparked by his artwork resonated deeply within him. Tommy's story had woven itself into the fabric of the lives around him, and Jamie felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each night, as he reflected on the connections he had forged, Jamie was struck by the profound impact of love, loss, and resilience shared among everyone. He had discovered that Tommy's spirit, though gone, was still very much alive, inspiring him in ways he never expected. Determined to honor Tommy, Jamie decided to visit the beach where the boy had once flown his kite. The beach symbolized joy, freedom, and innocence, the same qualities that Tommy had embodied. As he drove to the shoreline, the salty air greeted him through the open window, filling him with nostalgia. Upon arriving, he could hear the gentle crash of waves and see families enjoying the sunny day. Jamie walked toward the water's edge, feeling the warm sand beneath his feet. He closed his eyes and listened to the rhythm of the waves, letting the sound wash over him. In that moment, he imagined Tommy running along the shore, laughter mingling with the wind. Feeling inspired, Jamie gathered shells and smooth stones from the beach and arranged them into a small circle, creating an altar. He placed a piece of driftwood in the center, symbolizing strength and resilience. It felt right to create a tribute for Tommy in this place, where the boy had known joy. With the altar complete, Jamie sat down on the sand, gazing out at the horizon. He breathed in deeply, allowing the salty air to fill his lungs. In that serene moment, he spoke softly to the ocean, expressing his hopes and dreams while promising to keep Tommy's memory alive. "Tommy," he whispered, "your spirit has touched my life in ways I never expected. I will carry your dreams forward and share your story. You are not forgotten." As he stood, the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Jamie felt a profound sense of closure wash over him. He had honored Tommy in a way that felt meaningful and right, and he took one last look at the horizon before heading back to his truck. Returning home, Jamie felt lighter, as if a burden had been released. He had come full circle, not merely seeking answers but embracing the connections that had shaped his life. The experience at the beach had been cathartic, compelling him to reflect on his journey and the people who had influenced him along the way. Back in his apartment, inspired by his trip, Jamie decided to write a blog post about his journey, how a simple camera bought at a yard sale had led him to rediscover not just Tommy's story, but his own. He wanted to encourage others to seek out the legacies of those who came before them and to honor the memories that shaped their lives. As he typed, the words flowed. He recounted the moments of discovery, the conversations that had changed his perspective, and the impact that Tommy had made on him. Jamie poured his heart into every sentence, hoping to resonate with readers and inspire them to cherish their connections. Once completed, he published the post and shared it across social media. The response was immediate and heartfelt. Friends, family, and even strangers reached out, sharing their own stories of loss and resilience. Jamie felt a sense of belonging, realizing he was part of a larger tapestry of shared experiences. In the days that followed, Jamie continued to share his journey through regular blog updates. He wrote about the impact of the exhibition, the connections he had forged, and the lessons he had learned along the way. Each post was an opportunity to honor Tommy's legacy and keep his spirit alive. One evening, as Jamie reviewed the comments on his latest post, he noticed a message from a woman named Sarah. "I read your story about Tommy and felt compelled to reach out. I was friends with his family years ago. I'd love to share what I remember." Jamie's heart raced as he read her message. This could be another piece of the puzzle, another opportunity to learn more about Tommy and his family. He quickly replied, expressing his eagerness to connect. The following day, they arranged to meet at a local cafe. As Jamie approached the cafe, he felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity. What would Sarah have to share? He hoped it would add depth to the story he had come to cherish. When he arrived, he found Sarah already seated, her warm smile welcoming. "Thank you for meeting with me," she said as they shook hands. "I've been looking forward to this." "Me too," Jamie replied, eager to hear her memories. "What do you remember about Tommy and his family?" Sarah took a sip of her coffee, her expression thoughtful. "I lived a few houses down from them. Tommy and I played together a lot as kids. He was always so full of life, so creative. I remember the day he got that blue kite. He was so proud of it." Jamie felt a smile spread across his face. "He loved that kite. I've seen photographs of him flying it." "Oh, I bet he would have loved that," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "He had a way of making everything feel magical. He dreamed of being an artist, you know. He would draw pictures of the things he loved, and they were so vibrant." Jamie nodded, feeling a deep connection to Tommy's aspirations. "I've been painting in his honor. I wanted to capture his spirit." "Tommy would have loved that too," Sarah replied, a hint of emotion in her voice. "When the fire happened, it shook our whole neighborhood. We all tried to support his family, but I think it was hard for them to cope. They needed to start fresh." "Did you keep in touch with them after they moved?" Jamie asked, intrigued. "No, not really. It was difficult to find them after they left. But I still think of Tommy often," Sarah said, her expression wistful. "I remember him fondly." Their conversation flowed easily as they shared stories and memories. Jamie felt as if he were piecing together a more complete picture of Tommy's life, one that had been absent until now. Each recollection added depth to the boy he had come to admire. As they wrapped up their meeting, Jamie felt grateful for the time they had spent together. "Thank you for sharing this with me," he said, his heart full. "I really appreciate it. Tommy's story means so much to me." "Thank you for reaching out," Sarah replied with sincerity. It's heartwarming to see someone honoring his memory. After parting ways, Jamie felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each conversation, each memory shared, was a step closer to understanding not only Tommy's life, but the legacy that they all carried. He realized that stories have the power to connect generations, bridging the gaps that time creates. As he drove home, Jamie reflected on the journey he had taken, from a simple camera to uncovering the life of a boy named Tommy. The connections he had formed with the community were now woven into his own narrative, a reminder that love, loss, and resilience are universal experiences shared by all. In that moment, he made a promise to himself. He would continue to honor Tommy's spirit, to keep the stories alive, and to foster connections that would inspire others to cherish the memories of those they loved. Jamie knew that every life touches another, creating a beautiful tapestry of shared experiences that transcends time. With that understanding, he embraced the future, ready to share Tommy's story with the world and ensure that his legacy would not be forgotten, but rather celebrated and cherished by all who came to know it. As he prepared to write again, the inspiration flowed through him like the waves at the beach, constant, nurturing, and ever-present. The days turned into weeks as Jamie continued his journey of sharing Tommy's story. The blog posts he had written resonated deeply within his community, and he began to receive messages from people all over the country who had similar experiences, stories of loss, dreams, and the pursuit of connection. Each message served as a reminder of the profound impact of shared narratives, how they could bridge gaps between strangers and foster understanding. As the seasons transitioned into autumn, Jamie felt the crisp air and the vibrant colors around him, a stark contrast to the warmth he had experienced during the summer. The changing leaves reminded him of the cycles of life, of growth, and of transformation. He had learned so much about himself through his quest to honor Tommy, and he knew that this journey was far from over. One afternoon, while sifting through old photographs from the exhibition, Jamie stumbled upon one picture that had particularly struck him. A candid shot of Tommy laughing, kite in hand, with the sun illuminating his joyful face. It was in that moment Jamie realized he wanted to create something more tangible in Tommy's memory, something that could reach beyond the digital realm and touch people's lives in a physical way. With that thought in mind, Jamie decided to organize a community art project, an installation that would celebrate not only Tommy's life, but also the lives of all the children in the community who had dreams and aspirations. He envisioned a mural where individuals could contribute their own hand-painted kites, each representing their hopes or memories. This would not only honor Tommy, but also allow others to participate in a collective celebration of creativity and resilience. Jamie began to reach out to local schools, art groups, and community organizations to gather support for his mural project. He shared his vision with anyone who would listen, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. The community was eager to come together, to not only remember Tommy but to embrace the spirit of creativity that he had embodied. As plans took shape, Jamie set a date for a community painting day. Flyers were distributed throughout the town, and people began to show excitement about the event. He secured a location, a large wall on the side of the community center that had been designated for public art. On the day of the event, excitement buzzed in the air. Families arrived with paintbrushes, buckets of paint, and their own unique designs for kites. Jamie welcomed them warmly, feeling a sense of purpose and belonging as he watched the community come together. Children ran around with colors splattered on their faces, laughter filling the air. Jamie felt a thrill as he saw the variety of designs and ideas emerging. Each kite was different. Some were bright and colorful, while others were more subdued, reflecting personal stories and dreams. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Jamie stepped back to take in the scene. The wall was coming alive with color and energy, transforming into a tapestry of hope. He felt Tommy's spirit in the air, a reminder that even in the face of loss, joy and creativity could flourish. As he walked among the participants, Jamie encouraged each person to share the story behind their kite. He listened intently to the tales of aspirations and memories, feeling a deep sense of connection to each individual. It was as if the wall was becoming a living testament to the dreams of the community as a whole. When the mural was finally complete, Jamie stood in front of it, his heart swelling with pride. The bright kites danced against the wall, and he could feel the energy of everyone who had contributed. It was not just a tribute to Tommy, but a celebration of life, of dreams, and of the enduring spirit of childhood. As dusk settled in, Jamie gathered everyone around for a short ceremony. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice steady, yet filled with emotion. "This mural represents not only Tommy's memory but all of our hopes and dreams. Through art, we can share our stories and connect with one another. Let's continue to honor one another, to lift each other up, and to keep our dreams alive." The crowd erupted in applause, and Jamie felt a rush of warmth and unity enveloping him. It was a reminder of the power of community and the strength found in shared experiences. As people slowly began to disperse, Jamie lingered by the mural, soaking in the moment. He thought of Tommy, of the dreams he had for his life, and how those dreams had not only influenced Jamie's journey, but had also brought together a community in a beautiful way. In the weeks that followed, the mural became a cherished landmark in the community. People often stopped by to take pictures, share stories, and reflect on the dreams portrayed on the wall. Jamie continued to write about the experience, documenting the impact the mural had on the community. He shared stories of children inspired by Tommy's legacy, encouraging them to chase their dreams, just as he was now doing. Through this journey, Jamie realized that while he had started with the aim of honoring Tommy's memory, he had inadvertently created something more, a movement of remembrance, resilience, and community that would continue to thrive. And as he painted the final touches on his next piece of art, he knew he would carry Tommy's spirit with him, forever reminding him that dreams could soar high, just like the kites that danced on the mural. The journey was not just about uncovering the past. It was about celebrating the present and embracing the future, all while keeping the spirit of a bright little boy alive in the hearts of many. As the weeks turned into months, Jamie found himself increasingly immersed in the community and its stories. The mural, a vibrant testament to Tommy's life and the dreams of many, became a gathering place for families, artists, and children. It not only celebrated the past but inspired the future, sparking conversations that reinforced the power of connection. One crisp Saturday morning, Jamie received an email from a local news outlet interested in covering the mural and the community project. They wanted to feature his story and the stories of others who contributed. This was a chance to spread Tommy's legacy even further, reaching people beyond the community. Excited yet nervous, Jamie agreed to the interview. He prepared by outlining key points about his journey, the impact of Tommy's story, and the importance of art in fostering community bonds. On the day of the interview, he arrived at the mural early. The sight of the colorful designs and the joyful laughter of children nearby filled him with gratitude and anticipation. The reporter, Lisa, was friendly and engaging. "This is incredible work you've done here," she said, surveying the mural. "I can see how much it means to the community." "Thank you," Jamie replied, feeling a swell of pride. This project has become more than just art. It's a celebration of memories and dreams. As Lisa began the interview, Jamie spoke about discovering Tommy's story and how it led to the mural's creation. He explained that each kite not only honored Tommy's spirit, but also represented the aspirations of all local children. Lisa's interest was evident as they discussed the transformative power of storytelling. "What do you hope people take away from this mural?" she asked. "I hope it inspires them to remember the importance of connection," Jamie said. "Even in the face of loss, we can find joy in our memories and creativity. I want people to feel encouraged to pursue their dreams just like Tommy did." After the interview, Lisa thanked Jamie warmly. "I can't wait to share this with our audience. It's a beautiful example of how art can create community and keep memories alive." In the days that followed, Jamie eagerly awaited the article's publication. When it was released, he was thrilled to see the mural prominently featured alongside his story. The article captured Jamie's journey, Tommy's legacy, and the significance of community art, amplifying Tommy's spirit beyond their town. As the weeks went by, Jamie observed the community engaging with the mural in new ways. Families returned to paint their own kites, each edition a testament to ongoing dreams and aspirations. Jamie organized regular paint days, inviting people of all ages to contribute. With each gathering, new friendships blossomed, and the bonds of community grew stronger. Ultimately, Jamie had not only honored Tommy's memory, but discovered a path filled with creativity, connection, and shared legacy. One evening, sitting in front of the mural, he reflected on his journey. He had sought understanding and found community, friendship, and belonging. Tommy's spirit guided him, reminding him that dreams could soar high just like the kites that danced on the mural, each one holding a story waiting to be told.